Hey, what is up guys, my name is Richie and today we are creating a player counter in Fortnite Creative. But not only can this map show you how many players are on the map, it can also end the round if there are no players left. So for example, if you create a 16 player game mode and you only have 4 players, the map can count that are only 4 players alive and then ends the game if all players are dead or in the finish or whatever. As always, from now on. But as always, from now on, we have a community shout out. And this one goes to Spoonmaster. He built an amazing arena, which is the AT&T Arena, which is the home of the Dallas Cowboys. Saying this while wearing a full-on Rams gear outfit. But, you know, the arena is amazing. And he still doesn't have a code, so go to his YouTube. I will link everything in the description, obviously. And with that being said, let's get right into the player count tutorial. Starting off, the first thing that you need to take care of is the spawning. You can use player spawns, which I think is the easiest version of this, but you can also basically use anything that has some kind of channel which can transmit something. So if you're using like teleporters or mutator zones, you can use that as well if you want to. So what you want to do is you want to place as many spawn platforms as you want to have. So in this case, I'm just using 3, but you can obviously have all 16 players or even more. And what you want to do in here is basically only change when players spawn transmit on a channel. So you want to change that for every spawn platform that you have. So if I have another one, I have channel 2. If I have another one, I have channel 3, and so on and so on. Okay, so the next thing that we have to do is make sure that we actually send a signal to something. So in this case, we're sending a signal to a trigger device. I already set up the trigger device. Don't worry about the RNG device yet. I'll show that in a second. So in the trigger device, we have to change a few things. Obviously, trigger sound and trigger VFX has to be disabled. Like, it's your choice, but whatever. The next very important thing is that it's disabled from the game start. Then put enable when receiving from channel 1, which is the same channel as in this spawning platform. Then you want to do that on all the others as well. So this one is channel 2, this one is channel 3, and so on, and how many spawn pads you have. So the next thing that we want to set up in our trigger device is the when triggered transmit on. We want to set that to a custom channel. That doesn't matter which one you use, but it has to be the same for all of the trigger devices. So you can see here, this one is the same and this one. So a quick explanation what is going to happen in this device is as soon as someone spawns on a platform, this device gets enabled. And if this device then gets triggered, it sends a signal to channel 100, which we're going to see in a second what this is for. Okay, so while testing this out, I actually found out that the RNG device is kind of buggy currently. So the system that I was trying to make out here doesn't work too much. You can still leave it there, so I will still leave the part in. But one thing which is like kind of future proof and hopefully, you know, bug proof is if you just go in here and then set the trigger when receiving from to channel 1. So what that will do is basically trigger the trigger by itself. The one thing which I didn't like about this is that this has basically the same as the same channel as the enable from. So if there's like a delay or whatever, this could not work. To counter that, you can set a delay of 1 second here. You can try that, and you just have to copy and paste the settings for all the other devices as well, obviously. So this needs to be channel 2. You can see here channel 2. Also 1 delay, so that should be future proof hopefully, but you can still use the RNG device if it works again. Yeah, let's move on with the tutorial. Moving on to the next step is an RNG device. You have to place an RNG device with a zone on a trigger device. The reason why we're using the RNG device is because it's very friendly to triggers, and it's also, you know, one of the most stable devices currently, so I like using this one. You can do it in a different way if you have a different way, but we're using the RNG device right now. So going into the RNG device, things you have to change. The value limit to 1, the winning value to 1. So the roll time has to be changed to 1 second, zone to forward, or depending on wherever you want to have it, length to normal, play audio to none. Obviously we don't want the annoying sound. And then very important, the last one is activate on game phase. Do that to game start, and then just go over and copy and paste all the RNG devices over to all the other triggers that you already set up. You doesn't have to customize anything in there. These are all activating at the same time. So what is going to happen from now on is a player spawns on a platform, the trigger device gets enabled, and the RNG device is rolling. As soon as the RNG device is done with rolling, it checks if the trigger device is enabled, and if it is, it's going to activate the trigger device, and then the trigger device is going to send a signal over to something else. So if a player is spawned and the RNG device activated the trigger, we're sending out a signal which is channel 100. So if we go into the next device which we need, which is a tracker, we have to set up a couple of things depending on you what you want to create. But if you leave it to channels, you should be on the fine side. You can have eliminations and eliminated, and it is obviously very dependent on the game mode that you have, but I would leave it to channels if you're doing this system. Then you want to change your target value to 0. That is important because we're obviously starting out with 0 players, so we want the target value to 0. Sharing should be to all. When target is reached, do nothing. Tracker title and tracker description, you can do placements, alive, whatever you want to have in here. That is basically what shows up in the little screen on top. Show progress is very important depending on what you want to have. So if you want to count down from players, like if you have 16 players and only 15 players, 14 players or whatever, then you want to do remaining. But if you want to count up, you have to set this to total. For our case, we want to have remaining players, so we set that to remaining. So now we have 3 channels left. Let's first of all check which channel we already knew is existing, which is channel 100. So this channel right here is obviously coming from the trigger devices. So the trigger devices are getting activated and then activating the increased target value when receiving from. What this will do is basically every time a trigger gets activated, it will increase the target value by 1. So you can see that here the default of that is 1. You can obviously set it up. So now there are 2 more channels which we have to fill in. And you can see here that we have channel 89 and channel 99. So when completed, we're going to leave that out for now. That is the last step that you have to do, but increment progress when receiving from. And what this option would do is basically start the whole process of, finishing the challenge of the game. So let's just assume we have a 16-player race and all players are running. The first player enters the goal and then runs straight into mutator zone. In the mutator zone, there's only one setting that we have to change, and that is on player entering zone transmit on channel 98. So as we already saw, channel 98 is incrementing the score. And basically that is all you have to do here. So you run in here, a signal gets sent, and then you can see that the process is going to get incremented, which basically is the reverse because we're remaining things. So basically one player is off the list and there are only like 14 players or 15 players left. But for now, if we just leave it like this, the system is working completely fine, but nothing will happen at the end. So we have to change that. And for that, we want to have a channel on when completed transmit on. That basically means when the tracker is completed. So for example, when all 16 players are into the goal, this tracker will send a signal, which is channel 99 to other device, which are we going to use here, which is the round settings device. And all you have to do in here is basically end round when receiving from channel 99. So what that would mean is if the tracker is complete, it sends a signal to the round device, which then means the round device will see, oh, channel 99, that means end the round, and the game is going to end. And that is it. Now the system is complete. One thing which you could add is a score manager. I use this just as a visual representation of how many players are on the map. So what you have to do in here is basically score award type to set, increment by 1, visible in game yes, so we can see the actual number, and then increment when receiving from channel 100. This is basically the same as this one. You don't need this in your map, so don't be confused. This is just a little extra if you want some kind of player count somewhere or whatever. But you don't need this. Alright, so the last thing is obviously to check if it actually works. So what we can do here is start the game and check if everything works fine. And you can see we have 2 players spawning on these platforms. These 2 are getting activated and we see 2 of 2 players in the top. We can see 2 players on the map, which is perfectly fine. So let's check if the goal system works that we figured out here. So if I run here, you can see only 1 player alive. And if I go into my bot and then run with this bot into the goal line, you can also see that the game is going to end as soon as he passes the line, which now is going to happen. The game ends and everything is fine. So the bot is going to get removed, and I'm going to also show you guys that this actually counts the players. So we're going to start again, and you can see that it will only show 1 player, and as soon as I enter the finish line, the game will be done. So you can see one of 1 players, which is great. We see 1 player on the map, and as soon as I finish the game, or as soon as I cross the goal line, you can see the game ends, which is perfect. So everything works great. And that is it. Hopefully the video was helpful. Hopefully you could learn something new today. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like. If you want to join the Discord, the link is in the description. And I will see you guys hopefully back in my next video. Bye.